Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Thank you so much for joining us. We're waiting a few minutes to allow for all of our friends and colleagues around the globe to join us. We already have nearly 300 people online, and that's very easy to understand since we're 2-3 weeks away only from the start of the third United Nations Ocean Conference in Nice. This is our third briefing, I believe, and I can't actually believe that we're only weeks away. So I'm sure that all of you are very excited, a little bit nervous, and I'm sure that our panelists who are really in the heart of the machine will tell us a little bit about the logistics and the fire burning in the preparations for this UN Ocean Conference. I want to thank you all for taking the time to join us today. We know we're all very, very busy, but it's important to share information. As usual, we'll try to be as transparent as possible. The housekeeping rules are fairly simple. We will be speaking in English, but you can use the subtitle options in the chat, in the options to choose your language for it to be translated. This meeting will be recorded. It will be shared with everyone who has registered, and the participants will also be able to share it with their colleagues. We'll see it online, and we will be sharing with the Ocean and Climate Platform the minutes of the meeting. We kindly invite you to ask your questions in the Q&A box. There's an option to vote for your favorite question. It makes the life of my team much easier in terms of assessing what questions are of most interest and making sure that we don't duplicate. So we thank you for following this rule, and we will dive quickly into the agenda for today's session. Again, only 3 weeks away from the start of the UN Ocean Conference. We'll get some updates on the blue zones, on the logistics, on the accreditations, on the side events, as well as everything that will be happening in the green zone, the infamous whale, La Baleine. And we'll share also some updates on the different celebrations for the special events and the World Ocean Day. Just as a kind reminder, you all know that by now, but still we will have a very busy schedule in Nice, starting from the 3rd of June with the beginning of the One Ocean Science Congress that will run until the 6th of June, which will be followed on the 7th, also in Nice, by the Ocean Rise and Coastal Resilience Summit, the dedicated summit for coastal cities and regions. And at the same time, we'll start in Monaco on the 7th and the 8th of June, the Blue Economy and Finance Forum. And the 8th of June, as you all know, is our favorite day of the year because it's World Ocean Day. And we will have a number of celebrations from civil society and government-led events as well. And then from the 9th onwards, of course, until the 13th is the official UN Ocean Conference, and there will be activities both in the Blue Zone and off-site events throughout the entire week. As we start this meeting today, I'm also pleased, let's say, to share with you the final declaration of UNOC 3. We'll share it in the chat. It came out only a few hours ago. This is the final text that governments or parties will be discussing during the week, and I'm sure our panelists will mention this in a little bit. So thank you very much, and let's dive right into this conversation, since our next stop is indeed Nice, and we'll be there very soon. I'm super happy to hand over the floor to Lilou Scatino-Monaco from the government of France, who's been the general coordinator for UNOC 3 and a bit of a Wonder Woman in this last few weeks towards UNOC. So thank you so much, Lilou, for taking the time, and the floor is yours to share the latest updates.
Thank you so much, Lorelei, and thank you again to the Ocean and Climate Platform for all of their work in the coordination and the help and all of the work they've put into the Ocean Conference for the last 2 years, especially in their mandate to catalyze forces for civil society up to the conference. And it is indeed very exciting to see everyone in 3 weeks in Nice now. We are, of course, in the last phases of organization. So we hope that this brief is going to be useful to everyone, including on logistics information and program info. Thank you, Lorelei, for putting up the map. So you have right before you the different sites of UNOC 3, where all of the activities are going to be held in regards to the conference itself, but also all of the civil society events and side events that are going to be in the margins of UNOC. So the blue zone where the conference is going to be held will be on the port of Nice. Here you have the pictures of the buildings that have been finalized by the city of Nice just 2 weeks ago and handed over to France for now the installation of all of the materials and the setup of the rooms so that everything can be ready in a few weeks when activities start in the blue zone. As you can see, this blue zone is on a very specific place in Nice. It's on the port, which means that both in terms of accreditation, because this is a site run by the United Nations, and so from June 8th on, it will be in the hands of the United Nations. The public will need to have an access to both a UN accreditation to access the blue zone, and as well to have filled in the necessary form for security clearance that goes with the UN accreditation for everyone who has gone through this process already. In the blue zone, for these intense 5 days of conference, of course, we're going to have a very tight schedule with intense and very high level segments. Of course, during the 5 days of the conference, we're going to have the plenary going through every morning and every afternoon, with the opening plenary being a special event in the morning of June 9, and the closing plenary on the afternoon of Friday 13 from 6 to 7. These plenaries will enable parties, countries, stakeholders to take the floor and to give their voluntary commitments for the conference. So every stakeholder who is registered for the conference has had the ability to fill in their voluntary commitments for the ocean on the UN website up until now, but usually the biggest announcements are made in plenary, in person, by representatives of states and IGOs and NGOs. And so this is where we will have most of the engagements made by stakeholders for UNOC 3. In parallel to this plenary program, we will have the ocean action panels that you all heard so much about, which themes have been voted last year in New York by the 193 member states of the United Nations. Now these panels are being finalized. And so 2 by day will be held, 1 each morning, 1 each afternoon. They will last 3 hours each. And these panels will each cover a specific theme, which you will be able to find online on the UN website with every description. For your information, the content of the panels has not been diffused yet, as the UN is currently finalizing the concept papers of each panel. And so each topic that will be discussed by the panelists and what content is going to be given to each segment. And last but not least, a UN Ocean Conference is not complete without all of the side events that make it complete, because we have had the chance to be able to have 5 side events room holding 135 side events in the blue zone for the duration of the conference, which means that the program of the side events, which will start right after the opening plenary, so at 10 a.m. on June 9 and end before the closing ceremony, we'll be able to host events from every stakeholder. We have dozens of events registered by states, but most of them by NGOs and international organizations during the week. So yes, that is most of it for the blue zone. And now up to the specifics about the blue zone. This might be the trickiest part, but it is actually easy to follow because we have just a few steps to be able to register to the blue zone. As I mentioned in the beginning, this is a UN handled zone. And so once France hands over the zone to the United Nations, it is completely in international territory, and requests to access the blue zone are completely handled by the UN. As you know, those who can register are the parties which are accredited, which means member states, but also accredited organizations. The accredited organizations have either been to UN conferences before, or they are an ECOSOC member, or they have had access to a special accreditation, which closed in December 2024. If you are part of one of these 5 groups, you can register up to 5 persons to access the blue zone. This is now the process that is opened until next Monday, 19th of May. It is open to all parties that will have people on the blue zone, and it is absolutely necessary to fill in this form to be able to receive an accreditation, and so a badge to access the blue zone when arriving at UNOC. Please be mindful that you have 2 platforms for accreditation, one that is dedicated to member states and one that is dedicated to stakeholders. So please do use the right formats to register your participants and be able to access the blue zone. One specific about this registration is that it will give you access to badges for UNOC. Nonetheless, the access for the day of June 9 specifically, oh, sorry, that's right afterwards. I can finish on the first slide if you prefer. Yes, so just to finish on the pickup of badges then. In that case, once your registration format is completed, you will be able to pick up your badges in Nice in the accreditation center, which will be situated right in front of the blue zone from the 4th of June on. And this accreditation center will be open from the 4th of June and will close on the 12th of June. It will not be open until the last day of the conference. And you will be able to pick up your badges individually 8 hours a day starting June 4th. I was going to go over the extraordinary measure for June 9th, which is the limitation of access to the blue zone for that day. Because the maximum capacity of the blue zone is limited to a certain number due to security measures, you will receive a specific badge to access plenaries and the blue zone for the day of June 9. This will be given directly by the United Nations when you pick up your badges. This is not a quota that has been set up by France. United Nations are doing all of their logistics and security checks to have everyone fill for participation on June 9th. And once you pick up your badges, you will have over badges as you usually do. You usually do to access plenary and both the blue zone on that day. To get back, sorry, on the final step for registration, because we've been talking a lot about security, please do note that when you realize your registration for UNOC, when you do so on the UN portal, this is not the end of the procedure. You have to go through a second layer of registration, which is the French security form that you have to fill. This is absolutely necessary because otherwise you will not be able to access the blue zone, because the blue zone will be surrounded by a red zone, we call it. This is a security perimeter around the blue zone, which is opened by the state forces. To access the blue zone, you will need to go through security clearance. And so you need to go through the criblage, we call it in French, the security clearance that allows you to then get into the accreditation and then the blue zone. So the UN registration is not complete without the French registration for security, and you need to go through both procedures in order to be able to access the blue zone. This is a very important point that we want, of course, everyone to be aware of, that the United Nations also themselves transmit when they do their briefings and in their logistics notes, but we want to be able to remind every participant that without the completion of the two forms, they will not be able to access the blue zone. So please do take that into consideration.
Thank you very much, Lilou. I think we still have some more information on the blue zone, but maybe before we dive into the more of the program of the blue zone, we do have a lot of questions on the registrations and the technicalities for the blue zone. So just to make sure that we don't lose track, I'm gonna ask you a few questions if you can answer them. Some of them are with regards with picking up the badges, but you were very clear from the 4th onwards until the 12th, you can pick them up. That includes the weekend. I know the French have a reputation for not working on Sunday, but we do make an exception for the UN Ocean Conference, so you should be able to do so. There are some questions about the interpretation in the blue zone, so whether translation will be available. I believe in the plenary that's compulsory, but is that also a possibility in side events rooms?
So regarding translation, yes, it is compulsory in all UN official languages. So this is the 6 languages in which you will have direct translation in the plenary and in the OAPs. However, the side events room do not have translation systems for 4 out of 5 of them. Only one of these rooms has a translation booth that allows organizers to have their translators join the meeting. All of this information on side events logistics is currently being discussed by the UN DESA, which is the organizing body of the UN Ocean Conference. And so their secretariat is currently holding a meeting with all of the blue zone side events organizers. They've contacted all of the organizers and will give, of course, a feedback on all of the information they're dispatching now. So you will have all of the details through UNDESA and Linica specifically. If you're hosting a side event, you've been contacted either by her or her teams who are coordinating all the events in the blue zone.
Thank you very much, Lilou. It's great to hear that multiple rooms have also have access for translations. There are also requests whether civil society organizations will be able to host press conferences in the blue zone.
So for the press conferences in the blue zone, the portal will open later. I think it's the 27th of May on the UN website, and which will allow every party to book slots in the conference rooms. However, it's not opened yet, and I believe that priority is given to member states.
Okay, thank you. Very clear. We do have a few questions in the chats with regards to accreditations and registrations. I think we've gone over this extensively, and again, this is a UN DESA-led process. This is not up to the French government. So if you have not registered as a special accreditation and your organization has not been selected, then it's too late now to register. You absolutely have to be part of an accreditation or accredited organization or a country delegation. There is no individual accreditation. all individual requests on your specific cases for why your registration is not going through need to be addressed to UN DESA directly, because unfortunately it's very much up to the United Nations to sort out who can enter the zone or not. As Lelu mentioned, on the 8th of June at midnight, this becomes international territory, so it's no longer up to the French government. I believe there are also questions on the content of the plenaries, and we'll get, there will be a good transition to dive into the next slide to see the content of the different plenaries. But as you were saying, Lilou, I think the speakers have not yet been announced, but they are being selected by the UN as well. So please, Lilou, the floor is back to you.
Yes, thank you so much, Lorelai. Yes, absolutely. Regarding the organization of the panels, which most of you will be interested in, because the plenaries is a very strict and forward format, because it's only a few minutes of announcements by stakeholders. But the panels, which will be discussing themes, are currently being drafted up, and the panelists who are also being selected by the UN, as we remind that this is a UN conference on the ocean, it's being finalized now. They will put up the concept papers in the coming days online. Every information that you will need to have will be on the UN website, where you have everything: the program, the modalities of access, the side events. And for the OAPs themselves, you will have complete and very thorough notes on what they are meant to discuss and what problems they will be facing and addressing and what issues to put forward. But we are now waiting on the UN Secretariat to finalize this process, which takes a lot of time because it is consulted by every concerned IGOs and UN members to then be put online. I'm sorry, I think I've lost the slides. I clicked on something and
We are still on the program of the Blue Zone.
Yes, thank you. But I don't see it anymore. But yes, on the program, you have the 10 themes before you of the OAPs. Trying to unclick, sorry. God. Anyways, I will do without. So for the program of the Blue Zone, you will have, as you can see, the opening plenary on the morning of June 9th. This is a 1-hour segment that is dedicated to opening statements by the presidents and by protocol matters. So this is the vote of presidents for the conference and the vote of vice presidents and the decision on the agenda of the conference, which is decided beforehand, of course. And then from 10 a.m. on, we'll open the rest of the activities of the conference. This means that nothing happens on the Blue Zone before the end of the plenary. And so once everything has been voted for the plenary, you will have the start of the side events. You will have the start of the OAPs, which will, on this first day, start before than the other days, and everything will be moved 1 hour later rather than the following days. Then you will have for the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, the same format of program with the OAPs and the plenaries that are being held at the same time in different rooms. The layout of the Blue Zone has a very easy flow. So you will have on one side the OAP room when entering the Blue Zone, and just a bit further the plenary room. And so this allows for participants to go back and forth if they are able to enter the plenary between the two different formats, but also to access the side events room, which are situated in between these two buildings. And for the last day of the conference, you will have the closing plenary at 6, which is when the member states will take the decision on the adoption of the political declaration of the conference. This is the important moment of the adoption of the Nice Ocean Action Plan, which has been increased in terms of impact regarding the last UN Ocean Conference, as now this final document comprehends the voluntary commitments that are made by stakeholders. And so all of this package will be adopted by the UN member states on June 13th at 6 with all present delegations.
Thank you very much, Lilou. I think I'm going to ask you still a few more questions on the registration process. One of the questions is, do all participants need to go through the French registration process, or is it just the ones that are going to the blue zone?
So I'm not sure I understand, because everyone who is registering in order to access the blue zone. There is no...
I think that's clear. So if you have a blue zone badge, you absolutely need to do the French UNOC registration process. If you do not have a blue zone badge, we would like to go to the whale or the green zone, do you also need to register on the French UNOC process?
No, that is not necessary.
Okay, perfect.
Indeed, the French process for security clearance is only related to access to the blue zone and the security perimeter that is around the blue zone. The well will also be, of course, secured. However, we have a policy of free entry for public and participants, so this is not an issue for the green zone.
Brilliant, thank you very much. And we also have other questions about the timing. I believe that you first have to register through the UN process to get your blue zone badge, then the French process, and then you get confirmation, because a number of people online have done both measures, but still haven't received confirmation. Can we assume that's normal since the UN deadline is on the 19th?
Yes, it takes a bit of time for your process through the UN to be approved. This is the same for the criblage. You're not going to receive any news for the criblage. This is just for the French forces to have. So for the French format, you're not going to have an update. This is just for French forces to be aware of.
Brilliant.
But yes, indeed, it takes a bit of time for UN to process your request, and to be able to transmit your accreditation confirmation to you. And you'll just have a notification once your process is done, so that you can then pick up your badge from June 4th on. Brilliant.
Thank you very much, Lilou. And last, because then we need to move on, there are questions on whether the Ocean Action Panel's list of speakers will be revealed soon, the list of side events that have been selected in the blue zone, as well as the ability to participate in each of these different sessions for civil society.
Yes, thank you, Lorelai. Yes, it is taking a bit of time, but this is how it usually goes with UN conferences. The program of the side events is put up online a few weeks before the conference itself. This is also what is happening here. We are going to wait, I think, up until next week in order to have the side events program put on the website of the United Nations, as they are finalizing the last details of events that need to confirm specific formats and participants. They're waiting on a few last answers in order to have a final document that they can put up with every information regarding which event goes into what room and at what time. And so everyone will be able to then move from one room to the other.
Great, thank you very much. And there are questions as well on the ability of non-state actors to take the floor during the Ocean Action panels. What we've read from the UN, again, this is a decision made by the United Nations, but it should be up to 4 international or NGOs, IGOs, AGOs, being able to take the floor. Usually at least when it's happening in New York for the General Assembly, for instance, organizations need to answer a form requesting the floor ahead of time based on a statement that they're submitting, and they are being selected by the UN, but none of this is yet open.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Lilou. We'll get back to you if we have more time later on, but now let's move to the green zone, so into the belly of the beast, going with my dear colleague Luna Merino, who's been in charge of the mobilization for the offsite events and everything happening in the whale in La Baleine. Luna, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Lorelai. Hello, everyone. Very happy to be speaking with you all today. And I'm also super excited to welcome you in La Baleine, the whale, although only in spirit for now, or in images at least. Some of you may know this already, but La Baleine is the main green zone, institutional green zone of UNOC. It is not the only one because the boats located on the harbor are also thought of as being part of the green zone, but I will focus specifically on La Baleine. You saw on the map earlier that La Baleine is not next to the port of Nice, next to the blue zone, but it is a 20-minute walk from the blue zone. And it's also accessible by transport using the tram. So this green zone, we hope that it's a bit of a special green zone, a new one. And what we have created, what we hope we have created, is really a place where art and culture meet the ocean. So La Baleine will not be open just for UNOC between June 9th and June 13th. It will open as early as the 2nd of June on the Monday 2nd and will last until Friday, June the 13th. It will be closed, however, on June 8th for the larger public on World Ocean Day. And will be accessible on invitation only for a very specific event dedicated to World Ocean Day. But otherwise, the Baleine is open from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. In the evening, and it is located at the Palais des Expositions, the exhibition center of Nice. I'll come back to access to La Baleine, but it's very easy and free for everyone. So the idea is really having this three-phase experience. One, feeling, so through arts and culture, as I said, through installations, projections, but then also this helps convey messages for us to understand the different stakes, the different ocean challenges which are happening and which we will be discussing also in the blue zone. And then the last phase is obviously to act, and this will happen through the different events which we will be organizing in La Baleine. We have launched just this week the website for La Baleine. You have the link here and we'll put it in the chat. It's wearetheocean.com, and this enables you to register. If we jump right into the map, I think, of La Baleine, here it is. It might be a bit small, but this is to give you an idea of what we have in store for you. I don't want to spoil it all, but entrance to La Baleine starts on the left-hand side, the embarkation immersive entrance. And then you have this 10,000 squared hall with this central alley, which is really about showcasing exceptional art and remarkable objects. So you will have picture exhibitions, you will have engines that allow you to discover the depth of the oceans, which you will be able to visit. And then the central nerve of this Baleine is the Neptune Agora, which will be hosting really immersive experiences and events with 360 projections of National Geographic images happening all around you. And then all around this central alley, you have the 16th thematic pavilions that we have been developing with the ocean champions for the past few months. I don't want to go into too much detail on what you will find on those different thematic pavilions because I want to keep a bit of surprise for you. But just maybe to go over a few of them because some are very thematic focused. So you will have, for instance, the pavilion on coral reefs, a pavilion on fight against plastic pollution, one on understanding the deep seas, You will have one on the maritime transport and the decarbonization of the maritime transport, one on innovation and startup. Then, of course, both France and Costa Rica, as co-host of UNOC, will have their own national pavilion, showcasing some of the impactful projects that are happening on their territories, and for France, more specifically on the in the ultramarine territories. Our hosts for UNOC, the city of Nice and the south region of France, will be having their own pavilion. On the middle of the southern part of the pavilions, you will have the EU Digital Ocean Pavilion, and then just in front, the Cryosphere Pavilion, which will be dedicated to the cryosphere, and where we will launch the UN Decade of Cryospheric Sciences on World Ocean Day. So we will be able to share this map with you later on, and I just want to bring your attention to the left side of the map, which is the second level of La Baleine, and this is where you will have rooms for hosting events. So we have 4 different rooms here: the Nautilus Auditorium, the Orca room, and the Manta and Medusa room, which will be accessible to the public throughout the opening days of the whale. And then on the other side of the place, we will have restaurants for all the public to have a nice experience. If we go to the next slide, please. Thank you. Just a few specifications on the different events that we have programmed here. We will have side events. I'll come back to that. So in the forms of conferences and roundtables, but we will also be having a lot of different exhibitions, a lot of workshops, of screenings. We will have a space dedicated to VR experience, a space dedicated to artistic immersive experiences. And I know you are all very interested in the off-site side events proposals that you may have submitted to the UNDSA. So maybe just to stop on that for a few seconds. We have received from the United Nations the list of the off-site side events that have been accepted by UNDSA. So that means that those side events have received the UNOC label. And now it is up to the organizers of these events to identify the room where they would like to host their events. So in La Baleine, we have decided to host some of these events within the rooms that you saw, which will be upstairs, but we will be reaching out directly to the people for which we can host the events in La Baleine. So you will be hearing from us very soon if this is the case. Otherwise, I know also some of you submitted events through our call for events, the call which was launched by the French Ministry of Foreign Affairs. You should have either received an answer saying that your event will not be able to happen in the whale, and I apologize if this is the case. We've received over 600 submissions for only 300 slots, so the choice was tough, but it had to happen. But if this is not the case, if you haven't received a refusal, then we will come back to you very soon on a slot for your event to happen. If we go, I think maybe now to the registration system, here you have your QR code to the website, which I mentioned, the We Are the Ocean website. This is where everyone can register. So as I said, La Baleine is free and open to everyone, whether it's UNOC 3 delegates, whether it's the general public, the youth, the professionals. You are most welcome. You will not need a Blue Zone accreditation again to enter La Baleine. There is no deadline to register for La Baleine. So what happens is when you go on the website, you have to choose a slot to visit La Baleine. This slot is just indicative. So you do have to choose a specific day for which you visit La Baleine. But if you choose the 4 p.m. slot, you can still enter with that QR code at 10 a.m. And you can also use that same QR code throughout the day if you go in and go out of La Baleine. So one QR code is valid for a whole day. However, if you want to come back on another day, you do have to register for that specific day. So a QR code is valid for a specific day, but throughout the different times of the day. And if you forget to register online before, you can register once you are in front of La Baleine. You will have some iPads to register on site. There will be no material badge, so it's just a QR code that you receive in your inbox and that you can show at the entrance. I don't know if there's a next slide, but oh yes. So I mentioned the point about offsite events, but if your side event has been accepted, you should have received a list of venues in Nice, in Villefranche-sur-Mer, and Monaco, which are next to Nice, where you can eventually organize your events. So we encourage you to reach out to the different person of contact that are listed in this list to check any availability to host your side event. And I'm happy to take any questions you might have on that Baleine.
Thank you very much, Luna. We do have quite a few questions, including on the clarification between offsite events, green zone, the whale. So a lot of our participants have received confirmation that their side events offsite have been approved or labeled UNOC offsite events. What is the official process? So if they had, you're gonna reach out to the ones that the whale has selected, but otherwise others need to go to the website where all the other locations are listed to be able to find their own place, basically, or how does it work?
Exactly. So for the side events, the offsite side events which have received approval from you and DESA, for those which we would like to host in La Baleine, we will be reaching out to the organizers early next week. And for the others, we encourage you to check this list, which is listed here on the PPT, to identify another venue which could be available to host your side event. But indeed, it is up to the organizers to identify a suitable and available venue.
Great, thank you. And I'm going to ask someone from my team who can please publish in the chat, in the Q&A, the link where the available rooms are listed, because indeed these rooms are supposed, and please, Luna, correct me if I'm wrong, but these rooms are supposed to be free of charge, right?
So the rooms in La Baleine are free of charge, but regarding the list of venues on the list that we're sending in the chat right now, those some of them are free of charge and some of them come with a cost.
Okay, thank you very much for clarifying this. Very briefly, Luna, either of you have ever heard of a red zone as well? Yes, great. Lilu, tell us more about the red zone. We obviously needed one more. You're on mute.
Sorry, yes. The red zone is that of the security perimeter that I was talking about that is around the blue zone. So this is the security perimeter that you need to fill the French format for. This is the reason why we have the necessity of a security clearance in order to access the blue zone. It's because we're going to have a perimeter around the blue zone, because it's going to be a sensitive area where we have heads of states, where we have a lot of people crowded in the bay, and also we have some restrictions in terms of transports, and so that's why we need the security force around the blue zone perimeter.
Great, thank you very much. And last question, Luna, before we move on. Will the list of the organization, behind each pavilion will be made available on the website somewhere?
Yes, definitely. If it's not online yet, it should be by tomorrow on the We Are the Ocean website. You will have the full list of pavilions of the organizations hosting those pavilions, and you will also have the full program, both of the events happening in the rooms of La Baleine, but also of the events happening specifically on each pavilion, which will be accessible to everyone.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. And last questions, because it's a matter of, since we've discussed a lot the registration. What's the maximum capacity of participants in the whale?
I don't have the specific numbers, so I think it's quite large. So when you register on the website of La Baleine, you can register either individually or you can register a group. Access to events will be limited to the number of seats that are available in that room, but it shouldn't be a problem within the space because, as I said, it's a 15 square meters space. So we should be okay with the number of people.
Brilliant indeed. For having seen it myself, it is quite enormous and will definitely be where the fun stuff happen. Thank you very much, Luna, Lilu. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We really appreciate your time. If we have a bit of time left, we'll get back to some of the questions as well. But if we can go to just briefly an overview of what will happen in terms of civil society engagement as well over the weekend before the UN Ocean Conference. Again, all of this will be circulated, the slides will be shared, and it will be made available on the multiple websites. So on the 7th of June, we will have two very, very exciting activities beyond the special events we mentioned already. First, the Universal Swim that is being led by Safrida Foundation Europe, that will take place from 11 a.m. On the Promenade des Anglais, so obviously by the beach. And then in the afternoon, I believe the timing is still to be firmly confirmed, but our dear friends and colleagues from Cis at Risk are coordinating with many stakeholders the Blue March. There's a website as well that is being shared online and that has been shared in the Q&A as well. So please do not miss this fantastic event to make sure that we draw attention to all of the urgent action that needs to be taken for the ocean during UNOC. And then on the 8th of June, for the World Ocean Day, we will have also a number of events. If we can go to the next slides, please. As you know, this is also an official UN day. It's the official thematic for this day is wonder, sustaining what sustains us. And there will be an official flag raising ceremony led by Doalos and our friends from Oceanic Global. In terms of agenda for the 8th of June, we'll go through this per venue because otherwise it's still a little bit chaotic, but don't worry, the Ocean and Climate Platform will share some clearer versions of these programs as soon as it is finalized. So first, at the University Center for the Med, in the morning, there will be an event from the MPs from the Parliament of the Sea, bringing different MPs from the world to discuss how they can act also at their level. There will be an event led by our colleagues from the Oceanographic Paul Ricard Institute and the Season Blue on Women Actions for the Ocean, celebrating forces of nature, as well as the different solutions that have been led by women in this fantastic ocean community. And then there will be a dedicated session that we will be hosting with my partner in crime, Rémi Parmentier, on the future of the ocean, embarking on a more desirable future and really thinking outside the box with the ocean protection principle. In the whale, there will be a number of events also happening in the afternoon. Just clarifying here that the whale in the morning should be closed because of demining, and that's again a security reason. So it will be open from the afternoon onwards with an island summit at the heads of state level, convening our small island developing states and island nations into a summit for an hour and a half. And then this will be also concurring with another event from civil society on people of the ocean, celebrating the diversity of communities around the world, ocean communities around the world. If we go to the next slide as well, I think there will be a boat parade. And Lilou, I don't know if you want to say a few words, but we have mentioned this in the past. There will be a parade of ocean wonders with boats coming from Monaco to Nice. I don't know, Lilou, if you want to jump back in.
Yes, thank you so much, Lorelai. Indeed, the boats, all of this incredible fleet will be present in Nice and in Monaco. So from the 2nd of June, we will be expecting boats in both ports. And on the day of June 8th, to celebrate World Ocean Day and Ocean Wonders, all of these beautiful boats will sail across the Baie des Anges. We will have a sailing race organized as well in the bay to give the public a beautiful view and insights on the different scientific and historic boats that have made maritime forces and engagements from all stakeholders, because we have a lot of boats that are NGO boats and scientific boats coming from all over the world. We have some national pavilions as well coming in. We will have in that parade small boats from the region doing sailing activities for the public, and all of this will be completed by a musical parade, which will also take place on land at the same time. So it will be a big party on the Promenade des Anglais for all of the public.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Lilou. So that concludes a little bit the events, the programming for this. But before we close this session, I would like to hand over to my dear colleague Rémi Parmentier to share us the latest news on the Let's Be Nice to the Ocean initiative and what's cooking for Nice. Please, Rémi.
Good afternoon. Good day to everybody. Thank you for the opportunity. It's always a pleasure to work with the Ocean and Climate Platform. We've been working on Nice for now basically 2 years, a little bit more. And one of the initiatives, as many of you know, if not all, is the Let's Be Nice to the Ocean initiative, whereby we're promoting what we call the protection principle, making ocean protection the norm rather than the exception. And I'm glad to announce that on the 9th of June, we're going to have a special event. The details will be announced both on the website letsbenicetotheocean.org, which you can see on the chat box, and also on the Let's Be Nice to the Ocean LinkedIn page in due time. This will be a meeting, a side event reception that, due to lack of space, will be limited to a certain number of representatives. So many of you have already received invitations, actually, I think, and there will be more, but we'll have to respect the quota that we have for the location where this meeting will take place in the evening of the 9th of June. And there we will be announcing the creation of the protection principle task force that will be working in 2026 and 2027 with a view to reporting back to the 4th UN Ocean Conference, which it is expected will be co-chaired by Chile and the Republic of Korea. Second announcement, we have launched, together with the Tara Ocean Foundation and other partners, a petition asking UNOC to take into account the protection principle. And in the chat box. You can see the versions in English, in French, and in Spanish of the petition. And we would like not only very much encourage you to sign this petition, but also to circulate it, share it with your constituencies, because it needs a kick, it needs a push to increase the number of signatures. So please help us push the protection principle through the petition. And third, last but not least, because Nice is alongside the Mediterranean, there will be a Mediterranean Day, a day dedicated to the Mediterranean at UNOC. It will be on the 10th of June. And we've been asked to co-facilitate that day, and specifically developing a special segment for and with civil society. We've been doing that for several months now in cooperation with several organizations rooted in the Mediterranean, and of course in collaboration with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of France. And there is a link, a page, a Google document. It's on the chat box now. You can, if you want to participate in the in the Mediterranean Day, it is very important that you register on that page in order to be able to attend and to join us at the Centre Universitaire Méditerranéen on the Promenade des Anglais on the 10th of June, and we look forward to engaging with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Remy, and we are now at time. I understand there are still some questions we have not answered because, well, simply we do not have the answers because some of them are not up to the responsibility, definitely not of the Ocean and Climate Platform, but also not necessarily of the French government, as a lot of the questions need to be addressed to UN DESA. But we have tried our very best in this last few months to answer your questions through our mandate to mobilize civil society together with my colleague Rémi Parmentier. I just want to thank my team from the Ocean and Climate Platform very, very much, because they're the ones behind all of the logistics, and they're doing all of the work to make sure that you get all of the answers. We will be circulating this information meeting, the recording, as well as the minutes. And of course, thank you very much to our dearest Luna and Lilou. You are in the tranchée at the moment, to say what Ashok would have said. We are with you. We look forward to being in Nice, and this is going to be exceptional for the ocean, not because we want to, but because we have to. So thank you very much, and see you very, very soon.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Lorelai.